Okay, so a lot of people asked about Moses' dad. So I'm going to interview Moses and ask him questions about his dad. Moses, are you ready for our interview?
I'm ready, but I could...
Just short answers.
Ready. Good.
I'm going to try not to crack any dad jokes. Get it? Because we're talking about your dad. Okay, sorry. Why is your dad different than all other dads?
Was this like a Passover thing?
No, it's just...
Manishtana?
My father was a unique individual, and I firmly believe that everybody has a unique story. Each and every one of you that are watching this can write a book, and a movie can be made about your life. And if you think your life is so boring, comment in the bottom and say, oh yeah, my life is so boring.
Okay, Moses, I'd like to thank you for sharing all that information about
I didn't
your
even
dad.
start yet.
My story is unique in this way, that my father was born in Beijing, China. My uncle and aunt actually wrote a book about my grandmother's story, which is a fascinating story, which led to my father and his two sisters being born in Beijing, China. My father was born in 1943 in Beijing, China, where it was Japanese occupied. He was not an observant Jew at all. In fact, he knew he was Jewish, and my grandmother, who had been also born in Beijing, China, but her father had come from White Russia, did still speak a little bit of Yiddish. It's a fascinating, I think I used that word, it's a remarkable story, but by the time my father had made the commitment through a myriad of events, a sequence of events, we call this divine providence. Other people might call it coincidental. Of course, we know that God is involved, the master creator and director is involved in every aspect of our journey, each and every one of your journeys. Whether we're here for 40, 50, 60, 70, or 100 years, it is a journey, it's an experience, it's an opportunity. Soul embodied in soul, embodied in a body. This is an opportunity. We firmly believe that God is directing and creating everything, so there's really no coincidence. Back to the divine providence, through a myriad series of events, my father actually became an observant, Hasidic Jew in, I think, 1971.
Wow. If I didn't hear the story before, my wow would be much bigger, but that's a pretty cool story. Moses, how old was your dad when he became an observant Jew?
Now that is a fascinating question. And
take note that you said fascinating again. Maybe just find some more adjectives.
So this was a spectacular...
That's better.
Like I said, a spectacular series of events. My father was, I believe, 36 when he had me, so he had become observant 4.5 years or 5 years prior. So he must have been 31, 32, I would say, if my math is correct, 31, 32.
And Moses, how old was he when he had you?
I think I mentioned that he was 36 when I was born. Now, by the time I was born, which I don't remember that event, but my earliest memories was my upshernish. I do remember my first haircut, which I was 3 years old. Look, throughout my life, my father, being that his first language was Mandarin, and of course he picked up Yiddish. He also knew German because his father was from Vienna, Austria, so he spoke German. My father picked up a little bit of French, definitely spoke a fluent Spanish because in 1955 they had all moved to Bogota, Colombia. I have an easy time talking about my father's life because he was very influential in my life, in shaping my perspective on Judaism and our perspective on other ways of life. because he had already lived a full life prior to his commitment to Judaism or authentic Judaism. So he was always telling me that, you know, this is the way other people do things, or this is the way Christianity or Catholicism or Islam or Shintoism or Buddhism or so many different ways. And he all taught me, of course, respect for every other way of life, but how in love we should be with Judaism, because he had to go through so many relationships, religious relationships, and searching for him to find out that, you know, being Jewish was the way he should be living his life.
And Moses, where is your father right now as we speak?
I hope that he really is watching over us in the world of truth, in the world of MS, where he is basking in the light of the infinite, almighty God, creator and director of all things, things that we are aware of and things that we are unaware of, realities that we are aware of and realities that we are, of course, unaccustomed or unaware of. I truly believe he's still watching and aware of his small journey with us. He was only here for 76 years, which was, like everybody knows, 76 is a baby. But we have a famous song that we sing with the understanding that everything is divine providence and life is so short and there's a meaning to everybody's life. We sing, for 70 or 80 years, a neshama, a soul, wears and tears, just to do a favor for another. That a soul can be embodied in a body. God could send down a soul to live an entire life, and the whole mission of that soul is to do a favor for another person. Just to think about how massive a favor for another human being is, that we should grab this opportunity to be kind and loving to one another, rather than judgmental, hateful, jealous to another person.
Well, Moses, I would like to thank you profusely for joining me on my show. And I'm sure your dad
You have a show?
This is my show. I'm sure your dad is really proud of you. We loved him. He passed away 2020, and he is, although he is not here physically, we always feel him in our lives, in our souls. And I hope you all enjoyed this interview.
Can I mention that he has two wonderful sisters?
Sure, you just did, so.
Yeah.